Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shatta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shatta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishthang Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today is a special day. It is yeah, I guess we. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so today is the full moon day of the month of Vishnu, also known as Chaitra. It marks the appearance day of two of our Vaishnavacharyas, and it also marks Sri Krishna Vasanta Rasa and Sri Balaram Rasa Yatra. So I'll speak a little bit about these four occasions before getting into Bhagavatam, if we do have time for Bhagavatam. First off, I'll speak on Sri Vanshivadana Thakur, who is a lesser-known acharya, but nonetheless is very important in our line. He is actually said to be the flute of Krishna, which was incarnated in Gaura Lila. So it's a very important personality. There's not a whole lot of information about him on the internet or in Prabhupada's books, but there is a little bit there. He's said to be a very expert poet, so that's one of his primary services to Krishna is to make expert poetry. Just like Krishna's flute, it helps Krishna express the different mellows of devotional service. Vanshivadana Thakur, also known as Vanshivadanananda Thakur. His life story is evidently recounted by his grandson in the book Vangshi Vilas, and there are a few other books which contain information about him, including the Bhakti Ratnakara, which is a very famous book. And he was known by 5 different names in the Society of Devotees: Vangshi Vadana, Vangshi Das, Vangshi Vadana, and Vadanananda. Vangshi Vadanananda. And he's a well-known writer of devotional songs. So this like Vangshi means flute, so like Krishna's flute, and Vadana means like face or mouth or something like that, like where like words come from, Vada. So that's the meaning of his name. He was a resident of Navadvip the same time that Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Prabhu were living there, and it said that his home was in Koladweep, which is in the present-day town of Navadvip, formerly known as Kulia Pahariyapur. He had 4 neighborhoods known as Kulia had 4 neighborhoods known as Teghari, Bnechiyariya, Bedariyaparia, and Chinedanga. So there's a lot of details about his family, the names of his family members, where he lived. But most importantly is that he was an associate of Lord Chaitanya from the very days of his childhood. And he was very close with Lord Chaitanya's family. In fact, he was so close that after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and moved to Jagannath Puri, he stayed there in Navadvip, and he became the servant and protector of Shachimata and Vishnu Priya, is the mother and the wife of Lord Chaitanya. So in Lord Chaitanya's absence, he kind of, he gave them protection, gave them solace, and he also established the worship of a Mahaprabhu deity, which was in the house of Shachimata and Vishnu Priya, which is still being worshipped to this day. The same form is still being worshipped. He was a householder. He had 2 sons, Chaitanya Das and Nityananda Das. He had a family deity named Pranavalabha, which is also still being worshipped. And he... there's still like a family lineage that's going on in Bengal right now that is said to have descended from him. He had a few prominent disciples, and his sons were also great devotees. And you can look at his poetry. There's a few songs on KK songs, but it's kind of difficult to tell. Because there's like so many different names for him. They called him Vangshi Das, they called him Vangshi Vadan, things like this. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly who is the author of all these. There was a song which was said to be written by him, which was quoted in the Gaudiya magazine at the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And I'll read the translation for it. No more will I see his broad forehead decorated with tilak and sandalwood dots. No more will I see his eyes dance like hummingbirds in the golden lotus of his face. No longer will he dance in Srivasa's house with his sparrow-like devotees. No more will he dance in his own home while looking upon me. Will Nimai and Nitai, those 2 divine brothers, ever dance together again? I call out Nimai's name, but Nimai is nowhere to be seen. The heartless Keshava Bharati came and threw a thunderbolt on all of our heads. How can we now stay in Navadvip, now that we cannot see Gauranga here? Who is there here who can now bring my Gauranga back? When Vangshi hears his young wife and her mother-in-law crying, he rolls on the ground in his pain. So this was the mood of the devotees who Lord Chaitanya left behind in Navadvip whenever he took sannyas. It's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that, whenever he was shaving his hair off, they were all crying and lamenting like this, and they were living with the fire of separation almost burning their very existence while Lord Chaitanya was there. And many of his associates would travel to Jagannath Puri at least once a year for a few months. But it seems like Vangshivardhan, he stayed in Navadvip and served Lord Chaitanya's mother and his wife. So he's a very important personality. Again, he's the flute of Lord Krishna, and there's more poetry that you can read. I even found in this like mundane like scholar, like I think it was called like something Bengal Institute or something like that. There was some kind of scholarly paper about poetry, and they were citing him as being a very expert poet. So next we have the appearance of Shyamananda Pandit. He's a more well-known personality in the line of Lord Chaitanya, mostly because he was a big preacher and he made a lot of disciples, and he had his own branch of the Chaitanya tree, and he in Krishna Lila he was a servant of Subal, a cowherd boy. He was a disciple of Hridayananda or Hriday Chaitanya, who was a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, and Gauridas Pandit was Subal in Krishna Lila. So Shyamananda Pandit, Srinivasacharya, and Narottam Das Thakur are three personalities which were specifically they specifically appeared in this world just at the end or just after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance in order to carry on the movement, in order to establish the philosophy and carry on the movement in India. He there's a anyways, I guess I can read this. So Sri Shyamananda made his appearance at Utkal in the village of Dharendra Bahadurpur. Utkal is also known as Orissa. His father's name was Sri Krishna Mandal, and his mother's name was Sri Durika. Sri Krishna Mandal, who descended in the line of Shadgopas, had many sons and daughters who unfortunately passed away before the birth of his son. For this reason, his son was named Dukhiya. So he was coming from his father was from the line of Shadgopas, which means that he was a cowherdsman. He was a Vaishya. Prabhupada often quotes, he often references Shyamananda Prabhu as being an instance in history where Vaishnava gurus, initiating Diksha gurus, are not being born in Brahmana families. So that's another significant feature of Shyamananda Pandit. He was born in an apparently lower class of people, but he made so many different disciples, including Brahmanas. They took shelter of him for Diksha, like Rasikananda Prabhu. Everyone said that this child would be very saintly. On this full moon day in Chaitra, he has taken birth at a very auspicious moment by the mercy of Lord Jagannath. It is as though Lord Jagannath has personally brought him here in order to propagate his teachings, and therefore he is personally maintaining him. He looks like a cupid. One's eyes and mind are soothed just to look upon him. So as time passed, they performed the different purificatory rites like taking grains, hair cutting, education. And from a very young age, the scholars were astounded to see exactly how proficient he was in things like grammar and poetry and rhetoric. And he had a very strong attachment for the association of devotees from a very young age. So his father himself was a very advanced devotee. Seeing that his son was also very adept in performing devotional service, he recommended him to take initiation into the divine mantra. There's a number of different mantras that he could have been initiated into. And from that very moment that his father recommended, the boy replied, "Shri Hriday Chaitanya is my guru," even though they didn't meet. And then he knew where he was residing, and then he asked his father if he could go there and take initiation from him. The father was hesitant at first, but then he gave his blessings, and then Shyamananda Pandit, he traveled with, or he was known as Dukhi at that time, he traveled with a few sadhus who were traveling to the Ganga, and then he met his guru, Sri Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu. And so he met his guru. Dukhiya said, I have come to serve you. I'm from Dharindra. My name is Dukhiya. He was very pleased. He said, from now on, your name is Krishna Das. He began his service, and then on an auspicious day, he initiated him into the divine mantra. And because he could see that his new disciple was extremely intelligent and very capable, he sent him to Vrindavan to study the literatures under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami. So this is where like the connection is made between Shyamananda Pandit, Srinivasacharya, and Narottam Das Thakur. They were all residing in Vrindavan under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami at this time. So he went there. He began studying the literature, the Vedic literatures, and also the literatures written by the 6 Goswamis. And he... Anyways. After some time, he was given the specific service of sweeping this one area. What is it called? He was Seva Kunj. He was given the service of sweeping Seva Kunj every single day. So he would go there, and this was like in the forest, but he would keep all like the leaves and everything out of the way. And then he would go there and sweep every single day. And then one day while he was sweeping, there was a bracelet that he found on the ground. And thinking that this belonged to somebody, he picked it up and he figured that somebody might come and try to find it, so he would return it then. And then there's a few different versions of this story that are told, but the more esoteric version is that suddenly a gopi came to that spot and noticed that he had the bracelet. Or she asked him, have you found a bracelet here? And Dukhi Krishna Das was mesmerized by her and everything like that. He said, yes, I found it. Who are you? Oh, I'm a cowherd girl. Where do you stay? In this village. Is it your ankle bracelet? No, it's not mine, but it belongs to a new bride in our house. And how did it get here? She came here yesterday to pick flowers and it must have fallen off then. All right, then please tell her she can come and collect it from me. No, you can just give it to me. No, I want to give it to her personally. So it's understood that this was actually Vishakha Devi, one of Radharani's personal associates in Vrindavan, and the ankle bracelet belonged to Radharani. And after some time, Radharani personally came herself to take her ankle bracelet back, and then because and out of her mercy and in a way she blessed this Dukhi Krishna Das, and she, after giving the ankle bracelet back, she made it red with the kumkum, which was like on her body, and then she pressed it against his head. So then he had like a line of red kumkum in between his tilak. And then he went back, and then he told Srila Jiva Goswami about this, and then Jiva Goswami basically told him like, okay, like, you know, you're very fortunate that this has happened to you. This is like this is some special mercy that you have received. But don't tell anybody about this because not everyone will understand and they might criticize you because of this. So, and she also told him that from now on your name will be Shyamananda. So Shyamananda means one who is feeling great bliss in their service of Shyama or Krishna, or also can be Radharani. So this was his new name. And Jiva Goswami told him that you can keep this tilak because it has been given to you by Radharani herself, and you can keep this name as well. But not everybody recognized that this was bona fide, including his own guru, Hridoy Chaitanya. And upon hearing that his disciple in Vrindavan has changed his name and is now wearing new tilak, he became very disturbed and very angry, as you can imagine. And so many like Prakrita Sahajiyas and stuff, I'm sure, go to Vrindavan and have these same types of experiences in a very perverted way. But after hearing about this, his guru came all the way to Vrindavan, or I don't know if he came to Vrindavan.
He wrote a letter to him.
He wrote a letter.
He wrote a letter to him and signed a different name. So
Shyamananda?
Shyamananda writes a letter.
Oh, I see. So he became very upset about this. But then he had a dream where Srimati Radharani herself came and rebuked him by saying that, I'm actually the one who gave him this name. I'm the one that gave him this tilak. Who are you to say something about this? So Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu, he recognized this and he begged for forgiveness of Radharani and also of his beloved disciple. And then he accepted that this is actually a bona fide thing, this new tilak and this new name and everything. So after this, he was still continuing his service with Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami. And then, as we all know, eventually Jiva Goswami asked him to go and preach. In Prabhupada's books, we hear of there's two different types of devotees, the Bhajananandis and the Goshtianandis. And so many people think that like the highest thing is to go to Vrindavan and be Bhajananandis, go there and chant your japa and sing songs and, be very esoteric like that. But the mood in our line is to be a Goshtianandi, which means to go and preach. So Srila Jiva Goswami sent them out like this. He sent them to Bengal and Orissa and other parts of India. And specifically Shyamananda Prabhu, he was sent back to Orissa, where he was from, to teach the writings of the Goswamis in the Orient language. And on the way there, they were robbed of all of their literatures by a corrupted king in Bishnupur, and that's a whole other pastime. And he went back to Orissa and he spread the Krishna consciousness movement there, specifically by doing kirtan. This was kind of like the most prominent way that devotees were spreading the Sankirtan movement back in the day, because books were a lot harder to reproduce in a mass level. Nonetheless, he was definitely on a mission to distribute the books of the previous acharyas. So he had a special style of kirtan which is no longer known today. And after kind of establishing the preaching movement there, he developed a lot of different disciples. His most famous and foremost disciple is known as Rasikananda Prabhu. There's a whole book written by His Holiness Bhakti-Vikas Swami Maharaj, which you can read, and it has the whole story about him. And like I was saying before, Prabhupada quotes this instance as an instance of a Vaishnavacharya who was born in a lower family giving initiation to someone born in a higher family. So that's about it on Shyamananda Prabhu. He established the worship of Sri Sri Radha Shyamasundar in Vrindavan, and that temple is also still there today. And right across the street from there is the Seva Kunj, where this whole pastime with Radharani coming with the bracelet took place. And so he became very famous. There's a whole line of his followers which still today wear the red marking in their tilak like this. And he is a great acharya that we can, just by hearing about, we can become purified. So that's Vangshi Vadan Thakur and Shyamananda Prabhu. Also, today marks the occasion of Sri Krishna Vasanta Rasa, which is the springtime Rasa Leela dance of Sri Krishna. So there's two different occasions of the Rasa Leela, one in the fall time and one here in the springtime. In Bengal, in our Krishna consciousness movement, in the line that we're coming from, there's usually more importance given to the one in the fall, but in Vrindavan, this one is celebrated more, this springtime Rasa Leela. And during this one, everybody wears yellow. Krishna and all the gopis, and everyone wears yellow. And then a very popular thing to offer to Krishna on this day is payasam, which is a sweet made from milk. In Prabhupada's Krishna book, there's a chapter called the Rasa Dance Introduction or something like that, and where he kind of explains the philosophy behind the Rasa Lila. He says, from the Vedic literature, it appears that when a theatrical actor dances among many dancing girls, the group dance is called a rasa dance. When Krishna saw the full moon night, he decorated with all various seasonal flowers, especially the malika flowers, which are very fragrant. He remembered the gopis' prayers to goddess Katyayani, wherein they prayed to Krishna to be their husband. So this full moon, and of course in the springtime you have all the flowers and all the birds are chirping and everything. All of this aroused transcendental affection and desire within Krishna. And this is explained in this way. The words used in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam are Bhagavan api. This means that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus has no desire that needs to be fulfilled because he is always full with 6 opulences, he still wanted to enjoy the company of the gopis in the rasa dance. Bhagavan api signifies that this dance is not like the ordinary dancing of young boys and young girls. The specific words used in Srimad Bhagavatam are Yoga Mayam Upashritaha, which means that this dancing with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya, not Mahamaya. The dancing of young boys and girls within the material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya, or the external energy. The rasa dance of Lord Krishna with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya. The difference between the platforms of Yoga Maya and Mahamaya is compared in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to the difference between gold and iron. From the viewpoint of metallurgy, gold and iron are both metals, but the quality is completely different. Similarly, although the rasa dance and Lord Krishna's association with the gopis appear like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, the quality is completely different. The difference is appreciated by great Vaishnavas because they can understand the difference between love and lust. So there's a very long chapter in the Krishna book which is explaining the Rasa Lila of Sri Krishna. It is considered to be the exhibition of the highest pitch of love of Godhead, which is exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan, and this was displayed even to our material vision in order to awaken a desire to serve Krishna in the most pure way, which is exemplified by the gopis. So also this day marks Sri Balaram Rasa Yatra, where Lord Balaram also has his own rasa dance, and this is described. Where is it? Oops. This is described in the Krishna book briefly in chapter 65, entitled Lord Balaram Visits Vrindavan. So Lord Balaram became very anxious to see his father and mother in Vrindavan. Therefore, with great enthusiasm, he started on a chariot for Vrindavan. The inhabitants of Vrindavan have been very anxious to see Krishna and Balaram for a very long time. And then when Lord Balaram came, all the cowherd boys and the gopis were grown up, but still they were all embraced him, and Balaram embraced them in reciprocation. He, where is it? When the gopis arrived, Lord Balaram glanced over them with loving eyes. Being overjoyed, the gopis, who had so long been mortified on account of Krishna's and Balaram's absence, began to ask about the welfare of the two brothers. They specifically asked Balaram whether Krishna was enjoying his life surrounded by the enlightened women of Dwarakapuri. Does he sometimes remember his father Nanda and his mother Yashoda and the other friends whom he had so intimately behaved with while in Vrindavan? Does Krishna have any plans to come? Where is it? Lord Balaram, of course, could understand the ecstatic feelings of the gopis, and therefore he wanted to pacify them. He was expert in presenting an appeal, and thus treating the gopis very respectfully, he began to narrate the stories of Krishna so tactfully that the gopis became satisfied. To keep the gopis in Vrindavan satisfied, Lord Balaram stayed there continuously for 2 months, namely the months of Chaitra, March and April, and Vaishakha, April and May. For those 2 months, he kept himself among the gopis, and he passed every night with them in the forest of Vrindavan to satisfy their desire for conjugal love. Thus, Balaram also enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis during those 2 months. Since the season was springtime, the breeze on the bank of the Yamuna was blowing very mildly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, especially the flower known as Kaumudi. Moonlight filled the sky and spread everywhere, and thus the banks of the Yamuna appeared very bright and pleasing, and Lord Balaram enjoyed the company of the gopis there. And this is also described in the text called the Garga Samhita. There are 10 verses there which describe the Balaram Rasa Yatra. So, Duryodhana said, O tiger of sages, when did Lord Balaram enjoy the rasa dance on the Yamuna's shore with the gopis that had been snake girls in their previous birth? Sri Pradvipaka Muni said, one day, eager to see his devotees, Lord Balaram mounted his chariot bearing a palm tree flag. He left Dwaraka and, yearning to see the gopas, gopis, and cows, went to Gokula. Yashoda and King Nanda embraced him when he arrived. Later, he met with the gopas and gopis. He stayed there for 2 months. The previously described snake girls became gopis, and in order to attain Lord Balaram's association on Gargamuni's advice, followed the 5 methods of worshipping Lord Balaram. In this way, they became perfect. Pleased with them, Lord Balaram enjoyed the rasa dance with them on the full moon night of the month of Chaitra, a night when the red moon reddened the whole of Vrindavan's forest. Decorated with tinkling ankle bells, glittering gold and jewel necklaces, armlets, belts, crowns, and earrings, and with many lotus petals, dressed in blue garments, and his eyes glittering like glittering lotus petals, Lord Balaram was splendid with the gopis in the rasa dance circle. He was like Kuvera surrounded by a host of beautiful yakshis. Then, sent by the demigod Varuna, goddess Varuni, in the form of honey, oozing from the hollows of trees, filled with the humming of bees, made greedy by the sweet scent of the flowers, made the entire forest very fragrant. Eager to drink that honey, his eyes now red lotus flowers, his limbs weakened by enjoying amorous pastimes, perspiration born from the fatigue of his pastimes now streaming down his cheeks and washing away the pictures and designs drawn there. Walking like an elephant king, decorated with mighty arms like the trunks of elephant kings, as if intoxicated. Sitting on a throne, relinquishing his plow, his chula still in his hand, splendid like 10 million full moons, his jewel anklets, bracelets, and other ornaments tinkling, his gold earrings, necklaces, finger rings, and jewel crown glittering, and surrounded by beautiful gopis, their cheeks decorated with graceful pictures and designs, and their black braids mocking the beautiful snake girls. Lord Balarama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of the world, shone with great splendor and enjoyed transcendental pastimes. His lotus face covered with perspiration, born from the fatigue of wandering along the Yamuna's shore and enjoying many pastimes, Lord Balaram called for the Yamuna to come to him so that he could bathe and enjoy water pastimes. When the Yamuna did not come, Lord Balaram became angry and began to drag it to him, scratching its shore with the tip of his plow. Lord Balarama said, Today you have no respect for me. Even though I call you, you ignore my order and go your own way as you wish. Now I will divide you into 100 tiny streams. Rebuked with these words and now very afraid, the Yamuna came before Lord Balaram, fell at his feet and said, Rama, Rama, Sankarshana, Balabhadra, O mighty armed one, I did not know your great power. The entire earth is seen resting like a single tiny mustard seed on one of your many heads. It is proper for you to release me, who have now surrendered to you and who did not know your true glories. You should release me because you are always affectionate to your devotees. Begged in this way, Lord Balaram released the Yamuna. He then enjoyed in the Yamuna's waters as an elephant enjoys with its many wives. Then when he returned to the shore of the Yamuna, the Yamuna approached and gave him gifts of many blue garments and many ornaments of gold and jewels. Lord Balaram divided the gifts among the girls, giving some to each gopi. Then he dressed in one of the blue garments and decorated himself with a necklace of gold and 9 kinds of jewels. He then enjoyed with the gopis as the king of elephants enjoys with his many wives. So this is described in the Garga Samhita, and this is also alluded to in Jayadev Goswami's song, the Dashavatar Stotram. What is Vahasiva Pushi Vishade Vasanang Jaladabam Halahati Bhiti Milita Yamunabham. That the Yamuna was very fearful at the striking of Lord Balaram's plowshare. So in this way, Lord Balaram, who is also Krishna, who is also God, he exhibited his godliness and his power, and that he can move the entire rivers. And he also exhibited his ability to enjoy supremely with the gopis. And this was obviously a different set of gopis than the ones that Krishna was dancing with. It's said that these were snake girls in their past life. Lord Balaram is Ananta Shesha, so he's also he is the supreme snake. So that's also there. I don't know the whole backstory behind that. But those are the 4 different occasions which we are celebrating today on the auspicious occasion of the full moon of the month of Vishnu. So if anybody has any questions about those 4 things, we can address those, and if not, we can talk about Bhagavatam. Tarish.
So when you said he was the incarnation of Krishna's flute, does it say like which flute was he? Like, because
which kind of flutes did Krishna have?
He had a bamboo one. He had 2 more. He has 3 flutes, and it was I forgot. I don't know if it was like a metal one or a golden one.
Yeah, it's that's in Krishna book. I have no idea. I don't know. It didn't say.
Which flute was he? No.
Vangshivaran Thakur. I don't know. One thing is that also in the Krishna book, it was described that Krishna's bamboo flute, all of the bamboo trees felt very happy to see that their descendant was nicely on Krishna's vadana, on his face, like that. So the gopis were jealous of the nectar coming from Krishna's lips. Anyways, I don't think it's so important, but that's something that I definitely don't know.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just on the pastime of Shamananda Prabhu in that realm of Seva Kunj, Prabhupada actually said that he lives. Srila Prabhupada himself said that Srila Prabhupada, that's his eternal residence. Prabhupada's quarters in Radha Damodar.
Oh, wow.
He wrote that in a letter, I think.
Vamsidas Babaji?
No.
No.
Vangshidas Babaji is very different. Vangshivadana Prabhu was a personal associate of Lord Chaitanya. Vangshidas Babaji was at the time of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. So, very different. It's a little confusing. There's, just like in our society today, there's like a lot of devotees with the same names, Krishna Das, for instance. I'm sure there's so many devotees called that. So it can get a little difficult to understand all the different devotees. But if we look at like the context of, and how they're, who their associates are and everything, we can kind of tell. This KK songs is like a really difficult to kind of discern different personalities, because they're, you might go and look at Vangshi Das songs or something like that, but you can't tell which year they were written, or different things like that. So for that reason, I didn't really like talk about any of the songs that are on KK songs. But yeah.
You said he was kind of one of the first of a lower class to become an initiating guru. Did he get a lot of?
I don't think the first. I mean, that is something that occurs like in the history, in Vedic history, not very commonly, but it is one of the more famous ones, and it is kind of definitely not the first, because this is kind of like a modern example of like how this, especially after Lord Chaitanya, how this is happening after Lord Chaitanya. because Lord Chaitanya was born in a Brahmin family, Srila Prabhupada was born in a Brahmin family, his guru was born in a Brahmin. They were.
Because his father was like a merchant.
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure.
Right? Prabhupada was born in Vaishya family. Like, yeah. Prabhupada was born in Vaishya. Yeah, Vaishya.
Descendants of like Narottam Das Thakur, right?
Prabhupada.
Yeah, like the same kind of like branch. Anyways, this is also with like
Ramanujacharya, he was initiated by a guru that was lower than his caste.
well, this Kashi, what is his name? Kashi, or not Kashi. He wasn't given diksha by him. Kanchipur. Mahapurna gave diksha.
Mahapurna was still, his wife still, that was still the occasion with his wife where they had the water,
There was one with Kanchipurna, and then there was one with Mahapurna. Mahapurna was like I'm not sure his whole family line, but I know that Kanchipurna. Yeah, he did accept him as his guru, but he didn't take diksha from him. But there are a lot of instances in that, but and especially like in modern times, obviously there's so many gurus who appear in very low families, apparently very low families, and they give diksha, and it's completely bona fide. Prabhupada has like emphasized it time and time again in his books, and he's done a lot of work in India where this is like a big problem of people not accepting like Lord Chaitanya's movement because of this, seeing that there's like low class people teaching it and stuff like that. So like he's done a lot of work in establishing that this is according to Shastra and everything like that. You can do a lot of research into this and actually seeing how it's bona fide and everything. But the easiest way to see that it's bona fide is that our previous acharyas have done it, and
Was it his guru that gave permission to do so, or Lord Chaitanya?
his guru. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Was his guru the one who like gave him the permission to go ahead and be an initiating guru? Or was it?
Shyamananda
Yeah.
Pandit? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like Srila Jiva Goswami, he told him to go and spread the movement like this, and like the proper way of spreading Lord Chaitanya's movement is through parampara, which is done through diksha and shiksha. So of course the shiksha is more important, but also that diksha is there. So yeah, he's given permission by his guru to also become a guru. And generally the etiquette is that whenever one's own guru is personally present on the planet, you give them shelter of your own guru, and he'll generally give the diksha like that. There are other cases, but
Generally, it's not like it's only systemized within our movement. It's not like a system, like it's like, oh, here's a set of gurus that you can take initiation from.
Right.
It's generally done by seeing like the guru's instructions and how he follows, and then according to the line that he comes in and like that. It's not like, and it's not. There's actually in tradition there's no like, oh, this is the guru, this is the guru. It's not there so much. It's one just hears from the guru.
And that's not really what Prabhupada was like teaching too. That was something that was set up after Prabhupada left. This like zonal acharya thing, which isn't so prominent today, but it's like still like kind of there. And it's kind of natural too. It's like when you join a center where all of the disciples of one guru are there, then you kind of become more inclined to take shelter of that guru and things like that.
Like Prabhu's there. I forgot he came. He's the one we listen to kirtan all the time. What was his name? Prabhupada disciple. No, bro, Swami, not Swami. Not Swami.
Krishna
Prabhu, he was a
Kirtan.
Prabhu. Yeah, he came. He did all the kirtans. He did all the bhajans.
Oh,
That's
all.
all Prabhu. Well, he's not an initiating guru, but he's one Mataji is taking shelter of him, and he might. I heard he's going to initiate her or something like that along that line. So, it's bona fide. It's not like oh, you have to be stamped a guru. It's just something to
And
consider.
Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples to become gurus, whether like Diksha gurus or Shiksha gurus, but everybody should preach like that. And there's different services. Not everybody's service is to be a Diksha guru, obviously. Okay.
I just wanted to say something, like with in regards to like Shyamananda Pandit, and that's like was that like the first book distribution party that went out from Jiva Goswami?
I've heard it said like that.
That's quite. There's like that letter. Can we read that out?
The
You have
book
that?
scores?
Yeah, the book scores.
I don't know.
That's quite inspiring. I mean,
You got it?
you got it.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I mean, it's quite amazing because it's just like those. That's like the first line of book distributors
Yeah,
that
yeah.
come. So Shamananda Prabhu and plays such a big role in our line, and and all these different devotees that are coming out from Jiva Goswami. They're kind of leading the way and in establishing book distribution. So when all these other devotees say like, what is this book distribution? We're gonna transcend book distribution, but then you see how great Acharya is, like the first right after the Goswamis. Really, that's the principal activity that they took part in. So it's like nonsense ideas of book distribution not being the thing. It's like it was a thing when even the printing press wasn't around. So now we have so much facility. Why not? It's ridiculous arguments that they make. That all our acharyas have done it. Actually, all our acharyas have done it, and they've desired to do it to a great extent. So now we're fulfilling that desire, and if people are displeased by that, then they're on the path to hell for sure. So is there a letter at the end of it? Right. Okay. So Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Shamananda Prabhu. I think that those are the three TSKP party. And so I'm just going to read their books, goes out. Yeah, Srinivas Acharya Prabhu, Acharya, he distributed Bhagavatam with Vaishnav Toshani, 6 of them. Jnanadas songs, what is this? Jnanadas? Jnanadas' songs 23, Govinda Das' songs 19, Narottam Das Prarthana 11, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, Chaitanya Bhagavat 22, Lochan Das Chaitanya Mangal 6, Hari Bhakti Vilas 1, Murari Gupta Kardacha 1. Narottam Das, Bhagavatam, he did 2 Bhagavatam sets. Jnanadas' songs 21, Prarthana 56, Chaitanya Bhagavat 45. My God. Chaitanya Chandramrita 5, Vasu Ghosh's Gauranga Padavalis 34, Shyamananda Prabhu Bhagavatam 4, Jnanadas' songs 10, Govinda Das' songs 11, other songs 34, Narottam Das' Prarthana 16, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 5, Ujjvala Nilamani 1, Chaitanya Bhagavat 25, Chaitanya Chandramrita 15, Vashughosha's Gauranga Padavali is 14. So Narottam Thakur concludes his letter with the following emotional comment. Until we are able to develop another type of technology to print the books due to difficulty involved in creating books by hand, which is being neglected, most of our book distribution program will be postponed. We are sure that one day some magnanimous person will come and will develop the movement of ecstatic love of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributing books all over the world. Until then, what will we persons who are poor, bereft, and abominable do? What is the benefit of discussing the stories of Lord's incarnation, worshipping the Lord's deities, giving musical recitations of the Lord's pastimes, chanting the Lord's holy names on beads, etc., when we have such small scores? This piece came from Nilakshmi Dasi, who has distributed books for 30 years, the last 8 of them in Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. So, anyways, that's the mood of our acharyas, and their book scores are huge for that time. Oh my God! But now they must be so pleased that we're able to do all of that even in one day. We're able to do that in one day and completely and so by their mercy we're doing it, and they must be so pleased by seeing those books go out.
Yeah, it's like especially really amazing that all these devotees were distributing Bhagavatams back then when they were like handwritten. They were having to write all 18,000 shlokas. Narottam or Srinivas Acharya is distributing them with Vaishnava Toshani with like a commentary on them. So it's like, they're distributing Bhagavatams then, and they have to like actually write them down and everything like that. Right now we have like a huge book room like full of Bhagavatams, and there's still so many devotees who have never distributed a Bhagavatam like in their whole life. So like we should take inspiration from this. Try to distribute some Bhagavatam sets. This one, it doesn't look like Shyamananda and Narottam Das distributed it with a commentary, but this Bhagavatam with Vaishnava Toshani was distributed by Srinivasa Acharya. I'm not exactly sure what Vaishnava Toshani is, but I assume that it's a commentary, possibly by Srila Jiva Goswami. So that's there. And like they fought so hard to distribute these books too. Like they were harassed by like these by this king who basically like caught them trying to sneak over the borders of his kingdom with all these books and everything like that. And then they went through so much trouble to try to get these things back. You know, they memorized these books so that they wouldn't have to like have the physical copy with them and things like this. So like they dedicated their whole entire life to distributing these books, and it's the same books that Prabhupada has provided with us, today. So this connection is there. Shyamananda Prabhu, Vangshivardhan Thakur, inspiring us to distribute books so that we can tell people about these occasions of like Sri Krishna Vasanta Rasa, Balaram Rasa Yatra, and things like this. So yes.
Vaishnava Toshani is Sanatana Goswami's commentary on the Bhagavatam. And I also wanted to ask a question. So in this, we were reading Balaram Rasayatra. Lord Balaram he dances with the gopis too. Right? So like, does he have his own set of gopis or?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
It's said in the Garga.
That do not dance with.
Right.
Okay.
A completely different set. It's said in the Garga Samhita that they were previously snake.
Snake. Yeah. Who? What is that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's only 10 verses that I was reading from there, but it said it was previously explained in Garga Samhita, which is translated by
the Dhanavir Maharaj.
Yeah. So.
Oh, really? No, we have a full set in our possession. Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's an important thing to consider. Two completely different sets of gopis. Okay, so that's all for that. Oh yeah, Mataji has a question.
It might have already been stated, but I'm still trying to understand the timeline with Shyamananda Pandit. Was this after Lord Chaitanya?
Yeah. So Shyamananda Pandit, Srinivasa Acharya, and Narottam Das Thakur are specifically mentioned to be empowered incarnations after the advent of Lord Chaitanya. So I'm not sure exactly the years, but some of them were born right at the tail end of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, but they performed their pastime of spreading the movement after Lord Chaitanya left. And right after Lord Chaitanya left, actually, the movement was like in disarray. It was like it kind of died out like almost immediately after Lord Chaitanya left. And then it was revived due to the preaching of these three personalities because they had the books, they established the philosophy and things like that. So yeah, it was after.
Thank you. And then the Sri Krishna Vasant Ras, is this the same Ras Leela or is this a completely different one from the fall?
It's completely different.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know all the details. I'm sure a lot of like the gopis are the same, as like that. But yeah, it's completely different time of year, different mood, and everything like that. Okay. So we got 20 minutes. I guess I'll start on this verse and maybe tomorrow. Oh, you want to finish? Okay. So, Shri Krishna Vasanta Rasa Leela ki jai, Balaram Rasa Yatra ki jai, Vangshivardhan Thakur ki jai, Shyamananda Pandit ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatri.